was fine. God damn it.
My big radio pussy.
That big radio pussy fucked up our class.
Okay. Hello and welcome once again to YASEcast. This is episode 4. I'm Lamo. I slapped my big old tum when I did that. I don't know if that came up on the mic. But joining me today is, you heard her laugh, that's Morgan.
Hey.
We got Velius.
What's up?
And Snooze.
Hello.
So it is yet again another Tuesday. We're in the middle of April. Spring's coming around the corner. What have y'all been up to? What's going on?
Oh wow, it is Tuesday. It's been like a month of social
we're
distance.
recording. Of course, it's
That is
Tuesday.
the day we do
I mean,
this.
I know, but like, okay, it's been a long time in my apartment, social distancing, and it's like sometimes my brain doesn't know what day of the week it is anymore. Sometimes
I feel that.
I find myself behind the wheel of a large automobile, and I think, this is not my beautiful apartment. This is not my beautiful dog.
Watching the days go by.
Yeah,
I actually had a moment earlier today.
Were you in a Talking Heads video?
No, I was not. I wish. That'd be fucking dope, man. We're in some suit with big shoulders or something.
Yeah.
But no, I had a moment today. Like, absolutely, you kind of don't realize what day it is sometimes. And another Discord server I'm in, like every Wednesday, one person like sets the nicknames for everyone on the server. And so I woke up this morning and I was like, all right, it's Wednesday, motherfuckers. And they're like, what are you talking about? It's Tuesday. And I was like, oh, fuck.
Oh no.
Like, this was not a bit, by the way. I need to tell y'all right now. I genuinely thought it was Wednesday.
I had one of those. I slept in. And I'm like, oh, I'm so glad it's Saturday. Oh no, it's Thursday. I have a meeting in 20 minutes.
That's really bad. Damn.
But I made it.
I don't know. Okay. Hey, yeah. if nothing bad happened, more power to you. I'm just jelly.
Yeah.
Velius Snooze, what are you guys up to? What's going on?
Not a whole lot. Basically the exact same. Like, even though I'm still working through the quarantine, it's like there are days especially lately, where I wake up and I'm just like, yeah, it's April, right?
Yeah.
And that's about as far as I get in the day. Been a lot of
I feel you.
I actually have been playing the original Resident Evil 2 just because I got tired of seeing people talk about RE2 remake, so I wanted to throw it back to the original because I'm just contrarian like that, I suppose.
Would you say you're a reactionary?
Contrarian. And by the way, I got the pun.
I know.
He loves Contra. That's what he's getting at.
Exactly. I unironically
So
do love
have
Contra.
you played? Oh, who doesn't? But have you played 2 before?
The remake or the original?
Well, original. I thought you said you hadn't played the remake. Correct me if I'm wrong though on that.
No, I played RE2 remake, but I didn't like it as much as I thought I would, with all like the hype that got thrown its way. And it made me want to replay the original, so I was like, fuck it, I'm going to replay the original. Because I played RE2 when it first came out on the PS1 long ago, in a galaxy far, far away. Ray Skywalker fucking sucks. I'm throwing it back to last week.
Oh God.
Yeah, I need to listen to last week's episode. I still need to actually get on that. But yeah, so I've actually been playing through the remake pretty well. I mean, hell, I streamed it on Monday. Yesterday. Again, I thought it was Wednesday for a second. We were just over this, but I was like, oh yeah, that was 2 days ago. It's like, no, it wasn't. It was not 2 days ago.
It was literally like 24 hours ago at that.
Yeah, literally, not even 24 hours ago, if you want to be really like particular. Jesus Christ.
Look, it's been
But,
that kind of
I've
week.
been playing through. It really has been already. I think that might be why Monday was. It was one hell of a Monday yesterday.
It's only
But yeah,
Tuesday.
I know. Thank you for reminding me. I just remember it's Tuesday. It's not Wednesday yet. Well, I'm fucking excited to see what I'm gonna think tomorrow is when we get there. I'm gonna need someone to remind me what day it is.
All
That's
right.
the fucking point.
You're gonna wake up tomorrow and just be like, God, I'm so glad it's the end of the week already.
Don't even. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, our RE2 remakes. I mean, RE2 in general is really good. I've been playing the remake a lot recently. I played through. I got it, I want to say, in February or so, and I like sped through like the A route for Claire in one weekend, and then I just kind of put it down because other things came up before I started, like Leon B. So I'm going through that now again, and I'm just like, oh yeah, this is still really good. Still like this a whole bunch. Now that the Resident Evil 3 remake's out, I've been seeing people talk about that, and we'll swing around to that later, but I might be getting on that pretty soon too.
Yeah, there's just so many. Oh, sorry.
I haven't actually played any of the remakes, but I have watched. I think I went back and I watched your archive of playing RE2 and all that, and like growing. It's such a contrast in like this age of remakes between like the Resident Evil remakes, but now also the Final Fantasy remake. Thinking back to like what those games looked like when I was a kid, and wondering like, I wonder what young Morgan would say if she saw what the Final Fantasy VII remake was going to look like, and sort of the getting the vicarious nostalgia from people has been actually kind of great, even if I haven't played it.
Like the one thing,
there's definitely a lot of that.
I think the one thing that strikes me is that like the RE2 remake at least looks like what I thought the original looked like when I first played it in 1998.
I get that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I absolutely get that.
Are people like not hype for Resident Evil 3 or something?
I think the biggest thing that I've seen really come out of it is that after Resident Evil 2, and I'm seeing a lot of, this game is over in 6 hours.
Oh.
Well, I don't know. Is that really worth the money? And that's been a big discussion lately.
I bought that Humble Bundle from like I don't know, it was a while ago now, but I just wanted like the classic Mega Man collection, so I like got that. But like whatever version of it I got Resident Evil 3. And I was like, okay, like I didn't even know that existed. But you still had to pay extra money to get Resident Evil 2. So I thought that was weird, and I don't really care about remakes or follow them, so I have no idea. I was just like, that seems weird.
Huh.
I think it's probably because the RE3 remake still uses like the same engine as the RE2 remake. It has like the exact same UI, and in a kind of way that actually draws parallels to how RE3 when it first came out. It was basically like it used literally parts of the same map from Resident Evil 2. Like when you go to the police station in RE3, it's the exact same police station from Resident Evil 2 that you go to. So like it was a lot of reused assets for roughly like a quarter of the game.
Yeah, and like
I just looked at my
bring
Steam
shit
library,
like that up, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
I mean, it's not
I
a
just
bad
looked at my
thing.
library, and I may have lied. I don't think I got 3. I was confused about something else.
Wow.
You son of a bitch.
I'm a bad person now. I do have 2 Resident Evil games now for some reason, but
Oh, there you go.
It's just like RE3 was, at least at the time when it first came out, was kind of like a bit of the redheaded stepchild, because it reused like the same level from RE2 at like the early game, which was confusing to people. And I
actually haven't played it before, so I can't speak to a lot of the criticisms. Really, most of I've seen is just about the length of the game. But from the little bit I've heard, it's also that it's a good deal more linear.
Oh yes,
than Resident Evil 2. Would you say it's so? Playing through Resident Evil 2 right now, good. I'm glad it's more linear. Fuck this shit. Do you know how much I have to manage items all the time? I'm constantly running back and forth to a fucking item box so I can drop off shit that I picked up for a puzzle that I don't have the other pieces for, that I won't have for a while. I have to keep managing that. It's like, okay, well, which door do I have to go through? Which is the fastest way to get back and forth between all this? So I'm checking my map constantly. It sucks. Like, it's seriously the one thing I fucking hate right now about Resident Evil 2, as much as I love the rest of the game. There's just so much tedious shit in it, and if the experience is being more linear, that sounds great. I'm down with that shit.
In original RE3, it was actually worse in that department. Like you had to craft ammo if you wanted to pick up more. A lot of the times, like you would find like a very primitive. It was a very primitive crafting system because if you played a certain way, you got this ammunition maker in like the very first safe box, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you could pick up different types of powder, and then you could combine them to get different types of ammunition if you were running low. But you would still have to use up like valuable inventory space because this is like early 2000s, late 90s survival horror inventory philosophy.
Yeah.
It was super bad. Like it might have been linear, but you also had to deal with Nemesis, and then you also had to deal with you might be picking up ammunition for a gun that you didn't bring with you because you didn't think that you would need it in this particular stretch, and then you would have to like either hold on to a bunch of useless powder until you could get back to a safe room, or carry the thing with you the whole time and use up another inventory space while you're picking up stuff to do the various puzzles with. It was like really annoying at times.
Yeah, I can definitely imagine that. Oh, that's my phone.
I don't know if they actually kept any of that for the RE3 make, which is what I'm calling it. But
hey.
But all I know is that the original RE3 was kind of like it wasn't. I wouldn't consider it a bad game, but there were a lot of things that made it a much more like frustrating, like needlessly frustrating experience instead of any kind of like advancement. It was not really an advancement on the story. It was not really an advancement in the gameplay outside of the quick turn mechanic. And I don't know, it was just not as fun of a game as I think a lot of people wanted it to be. And then they came out with Code Veronica and everyone's just kind of like, hey, it's Claire Redfield again.
Yeah, that's something I haven't played too, but it seems like RE3 might be for better or worse, and maybe worse in this case, just more of 2, albeit in a different shaped box.
Yeah, basically.
Like there's a little bit of differences there, maybe some differences in the style, but it's still at the core the kind of the same thing. But the remake looks good. I do want to play it. It seems good. But as I kind of touched you a bit before, there's been this gigantic rash again, and this is something I feel like we haven't. I feel like that this topic comes up however many years. It's a cyclical conversation of a game's length being directly tied to its value more than anything else. So RE3 remake is obviously something that's very polished. Like I said, I haven't got a chance to play it, but I've watched a good deal of it. It seems like it's very well put together. It comes with this multiplayer mode, and the number one thing I'm hearing a lot of is just, well, it's only 6. You can beat it in 6 hours. Is it really worth $60 then? It's like it bothers me because I see this same kind of marketing point come out on the opposite end of the spectrum of, oh my god, it's an 80-hour JRPG. That's so much stuff to do. And it's like, but is any of it good? Is any of it actually stuff that you want to engage in or that you're interested in? Will it be anything that you're glad you actually did? Or is it just grinding out a bunch of boring shit? Because I don't want to play 80 hours of that. I'd rather play a $6, not $6, say $6 would be pretty nice too. Yeah, but I would much rather play a 6-hour game that's a much tighter experience, that's much more polished, then I'm going to enjoy those 6 hours more than I would on average for an 80-hour game.
Also, is it like you can beat it in 6 hours, or like you're gonna beat it in 6 hours? Because those are kind of two different things.
They absolutely are.
I just looked up Resident Evil 3 on How Long to Beat, which I find to be an excellent website.
Uh-huh.
And well, except I can't click back. But it says main story 6 hours, completionist 18. So
okay, and then on top of that, there's that.
And those are averages.
Yeah. And then on top of that too, there's that whatchamacallit. That multiplayer mode actually looks really cool to me. It kind of reminds me of like a weird, almost Left 4 Dead-esque thing, except instead of facing against a team of monsters, it's one person setting traps and layouts on the floor, on the next floor or whatever. Like
that mode actually looks really cool to me, and I had the same initial thought too. I'm like, is this just Left 4 Dead? And then I saw the actual gameplay where it's like one step removed, where instead of the person actually playing as a zombie, it's like they're playing as the director, and they're placing traps and they're placing zombies in places, and like that's actually really cool.
I like that idea a lot, and I'm interested to see how the balance is. I haven't heard a lot about it, which I find really surprising.
I've seen a couple really funny clips.
Real fucking neat.
It's like one of the things that I guess like back to the point of departure. It's I mean I very much feel the same way about things. So like Persona 5 is a game that I bought at launch for full price, and I have not finished because I was looking at, you get to a certain point in your life and you're like, all right, well, like, do I have, as time becomes more valuable for me as I get older, it's like, do I want to put 30 more hours into this game, or do I want to move on and spend it on something else? And then compare that to probably the first time that I came across this argument of like, oh, is it worth the full price, or is it enough of a game to justify what I'm going to spend on it? That was the Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, where like you can beat that game in like what, a couple hours, really. You can sit down and just like polish it off if you're good enough at it. But it's also a game that has stuck with me longer than other projects where I've put a lot more time into them, because it's such a tight experience. Like the music is great, the story is weirdly prescient to where the world is going, and just all in all, like, I love that game. Even if, realistically, I maybe only played it for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Revengeance is a funny one to bring up, actually, because, like, y'all ever heard of a game called Metal Gear Solid?
No.
When that game came out, fuck you, Lamo. When that game came out...
Well, listen, I love Metal Gear Revengeance. Are the two related?
I remember people like the original MGS. It got like good reviews and everything, but people were like mad that it was like 13 hours long. Why? And like, can you imagine like who do you hear complain about like Metal Gear today? I mean, like pretty much nobody. It's considered a classic, right?
Yeah.
But people were mad that it was not long enough when it came out, because same thing. I paid $60-$70 for this game, and I'm just gonna beat it in like 12 hours, and that's not. Yeah, I could play Final Fantasy VII for like 100 hours instead. Like, kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just it's a weird argument. I don't know why it keeps coming up, because it seems like are we really trying to say that like the length of a game? Because I mean it's not even really face valid. Exactly like Lamo said, of just like is if there's 80 hours of quote unquote stuff to do. Does that make it an inherently good game? Does this mean that fighting games are the greatest genre of all time because they are never finished?
I mean, case closed, motherfuckers.
Case closed, third strike game.
People been playing Super Turbo since it came out. That was like, what? I don't know, 25 years in it? Probably 25 years or so. Fucking Super Turbo is the best game in existence. We just proved it. People still play
with math.
But
like, but on a serious note,
Susan and I played we played 50 matches in Super Turbo over the weekend. It took like maybe
30 minutes.
I was gonna say maybe an hour tops. It's great.
But yeah, like, I just don't get the why people come to this. And the only thing I can really think of is that length is sort of, it's like an objective thing, like length to cost, and it's people trying to find like an objective criteria of like, should I buy this game, or is this a good experience?
Yeah.
Because turns out that like I thought Revengeance was great. Somebody else is going to probably play that and be like, they're going to have a different experience. They might not think that it was, like, they're going to value that differently. Mm-hmm. I love Kojima's weird bullshit and, prescient prediction of the turn to crypto-fascism in American politics and global imperialism. Like, it's kind of freaky.
There's some big fucking themes there.
I think a lot of that is just people like justifying or not their purchases. Like, I mean, we all know people who like, they just play a lot of games. They always have this huge backlog. And if all of your friends are doing that, people have like social pressure to keep up on stuff, and like they want to play everything, and it's their hobby or whatever. And, if some game comes out that's like 6 hours long or whatever, And I think some people are, they're looking for a reason to not buy stuff too. So like that's just a reason. Well, I don't have to spend that $60 because here's why this game sucks. I'm not buying it for this reason. 6 hours long, stupid.
I think there's a really weird way in that, and I don't know if this is necessarily just an American thing, but I think there's a very weird way not only how we value our media and the things that we look for as indicators of good or bad, but also the way that we kind of critique our media, especially in regards to that. Length is something where I find that people are, since Gamergate, I feel like a lot of people have been looking for saying they wanted more objectivity in reviews. They wanted to get, game reviews shouldn't be subjective, which is an incredibly stupid fucking thing to say. First of all, dear God,
what is a review?
How many
butterfly meme is?
Here's my objective review. The game has this many pixels. It's just like it's anyway. I feel like length is probably one of those ways that people try to tie objectivity into it. But then the problem comes where, okay, well, how short is too short? What's the amount of time spent per dollar that you need to be getting into it? And again, how does that equal into your actual enjoyment of there? Something which is just purely subjective. Like, again, going back to Persona, I played through Persona 5. I don't know why. I would never. Persona 5 Royal just came out. There's no fucking way in hell I'm going to buy that or play through it. I have zero desire to spend that much amount of time on that game again.
It's all. You said the two words that I think I was probably going to come up eventually when you start talking about reviews and reviewing. But there's in the post Gamergate era, there's this weird that I just said post Gamergate era. Bothers me a lot, but it's real. There's a pressure for people to try to have an objective justification of the way that they communicate media and deal with media, and it breaks down at its face level. You sit down with any real kind of review, and basically I see reviewers as art critics that can speak to their own experience with a property, and I follow critics that I think reflect my values and enjoy things the way that I do. And I see dipshits like The Quartering going after them and being like, oh, well, did you not like this game because it had a strong white male protagonist? And it's like this weird sort of reactionary bent to pressure people to be like, you need to be objective with a medium that is inherently not objective.
Yeah.
It's fucking dumb.
It absolutely is. This may be getting a bit too far off topic from what I was originally meant to bring up, but talking about the way that we critique media has kind of reminded me that it existed. There was a small gaming site that I wrote a review or two for way back in the day. And what always stuck with me from there was how much I actually really liked how they would score games at the end of their reviews. So at the end of the review, you would score it by, you would say what the MSRP of the game was. And then you said underneath that was, how much would you pay for this game? How much do you think this game... How much money would you feel comfortable spending on this particular game? And sometimes it matched with the MSRP. Sometimes it was a little bit lower than it. But there were a good chunk of games where it's honestly, I would pay higher than MSRP for this game. I am that happy that it exists in this fucking world. And for some reason that was always a more interesting way of scoring things to me than the typical 10-point scale or the letter grade scale, whatever you have to do. Part of me figures some of that might just be because too it's it's harder for people to get angry at you for giving a game a certain score if it's fuck it, we're going to put it in money terms. We'll do something different so that way no one can possibly give a shit about reviews. But
actually, I like that cool. A lot. Because there's this whole idea of exactly that, where it's hey, this is the objective, and then here's my subjective rating of, hey, we live in this world where, let's take Final Fantasy VII Remake. A lot of my Twitter mutuals are playing it. It looks great. I have a lot of nostalgia for that. But, it's predominantly a single-player experience. So, for me, I would probably wait. And so I value certain components differently. And I might say, I might pick it up if I see it on sale for $30 or $40, but I probably won't pay launch price for it. And there are other games that, I think, now that I'm saying it out, thinking about it, it's like I think I really value multiplayer components. Where so like Grand Blue Versus came out, and I bought the game immediately, as a game share with an undisclosed member of this podcast, and and then when it came out in English, I bought it again and bought the DLC, and even like this morning bought color DLC and stuff because I wanted to play dress up with my character, and I through that am paying way higher than maybe somebody else's experience, and I still feel like I would pay even more than I have already because I enjoyed this game and this property so much. So I really like that idea of saying like, what would you be willing to, like, much would you be willing to spend before you would say you don't feel like you quote unquote got your money's worth. And I think another site that I'm imagining most of us read, or familiar with at some level, I think Waypoint actually got rid of reviews entirely, and they're just like, this is our experience, this is what I think of this, and I'm not going to give you a number because the number is a shitty metric to begin with.
Yeah. And you see so many people too are just like, I'm just going to scroll down to see what the score is, and then I'm going to decide whether I'm angry or not without having read any of the fucking content in the review. I hate that mentality exists. Good lord. People need to actually read the reviews. I think Polygon actually got rid of giving games scores as well.
Which is good. I mean, Deadass, I was watching a video last night about this almost exact situation where Outlet reviewed the game, gave it like a 5 out of 10, and the Quartering comes up and makes his like clickbait, crypto-fascist reaction video about how like, oh, well, they only gave it a 5, but it probably deserves like at least a 6 or a 7. It must be knocking it because they hate white men. God. And then it turns out, end of the story is that actually the Quartering had never played the game and was just being a piece of shit. But a lot of that is still rooted in this idea of like objective metrics versus of a subjective experience, and trying to sublimate things from this is how, I'm one of those people that thinks that video games are art. And people interact with art. And when you look at a portrait and something in a gallery, you're not going to give that like a letter grade or a number.
Oh my god. Because shit. I just thought that would be an amazing Eric Andre sketch.
Also,
going around the Met and just fucking putting up stickers.
We all play fighting games, and we know that people absolutely would go to the Met and give the paintings a letter grade, to be fair.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
To be more specifically, they would put them into a tier list. Absolutely.
So why are you rearranging all the portraits to be vertical? Isn't it? It's new art. It's called the tier list.
I would just say, like, on the matter of time, though, so, like, the MSRP point got brought up, and like how you measure what you think the game is worth, right? And it's not that I disagree with the notion that like time should be like how long a game is should be irrelevant, because there's replayability to factor in. It's like if the campaign is 6 hours long but it's giving you like reasons to play it again, obviously that's not going to be like a 6 hour long experience. That's going to be however many hours you want to put into it, But say you play, because I remember the last time I really like engaged in this debate at all, it was when Firewatch came out, which is all of like an hour and a half if you take your time.
Oh god, I fucking love that game.
It's a great game, but at the same time, like the one thing they have to keep in mind is that like money, especially in America, is not an infinite resource for most of us. And spending the top amount of money, like that's why I haven't bought Resident Evil 3 Remake or Resident Evil 2 Remake. It's why I haven't bought Final Fantasy 7 Remake, because none of those games for me, especially since they are remakes and I've already experienced their original versions, it justifies $60 regardless of length per se. But if I was going to buy one of them, it would be Final Fantasy 7, because there would be an amount of time I know that I could put into it and still be able to justify why I put $60 into that experience versus the others, So it's not that it's irrelevant, but there are like, the very extreme takes where it's like, oh no, this game is only 6 hours, then it's absolute dog shit and no one should buy it. It's like, clearly that's stupid. Like the quality of it is not directly related to time, even if some people act like it is. But I also argue that it's not a completely irrelevant factor either, as none of us are wealthy folks, at least in this Discord. So it is just one variable of many to consider is my take anyway.
I've complained about like this before, but I mean, all of those are like perfectly valid reasons to not buy a video game. It's just like, I mean, I think it's like an internet thing. I could be wrong about that, but people generally in current year have this thing where like their opinion just has to be like everything has to be this one simple answer, and this is like the objectively correct reason. So, if a game's too long, it's shit. If a game's too short, it's shit. If a game costs too much, it's shit. And like nobody can like just, I mean, kind of like you said, like there are a multitude of reasons you can have for not buying something. It's not like you just have to pick one of these things, and if it fails on this, then it's a bad game or whatever product, no matter what else. Like same, I mean, it happens with like anime a lot. There's like Love Live and Idolmaster, right? And I've talked to people who are just like, yeah, Love Live's fucking garbage. Fuck that show.
I'll fight
Idolmaster's so much better. And I'm like,
I'm already angry. My hands are in
like,
fists.
Like, I've watched them both, or at least the first season of both of them. And like, I will absolutely agree that Idolmaster is a better show. But like, Love Live's fine, man. It's a TV show. There's reasons people have to enjoy it. You can like it more or less. Like, you can like one thing more than another thing without one being shit and one being godlike,
Yeah.
It's whoa. I mean, that might be true in the abstract, but if you're gonna talk about Idolmaster and you're gonna no, that's the one domain where actually some things are shit. And I have very strong opinions that will probably come up at later episodes of this podcast. No, I'm kidding. And I totally, I agree with Snooze, actually, that, it's one of those, I hate that it kind of comes down to it, and I know we're getting like very far from where it was, but this is actually where I wanted to go to.
It's fine. This is a special edition episode.
A very special episode.
A very special episode where eventually I will reveal my Idolmaster tier list. It's
more going to the Metropolitan and just rearranging a bunch of pictures of Love Live characters.
It's like, all right, so at the end of season 1, I thought Nozomi was a bad character, but I've come around. No, this is kind of where I wanted to go to, because like you had said even in our chat beforehand that you wanted to talk about sort of length, and I was thinking more generally like, well, how do people make decisions, and how does that come into reviews and how people react to reviews and like assign value to the stuff that they enjoy? Because like I have things that I love that are part of my experience. Love Live is one of them, but I'm also kind of in Snooze's case where I'm like, I love Love Live. I have a very specific relationship with some of those characters. One of them was a part of a reason that I was motivated to come out and transition. Like that's a very personal connection I have with that media, but that's not for everybody. And if I was in the position where I had to recommend a show, I'd say you should watch the original Idolmaster anime, and then watch Side M, and then watch Cinderella Girls if you still want to watch it, but like in that order. But like the original Idolmaster is genuinely a great show. Not sure where I was going with that, but also watch Love Live. It's great. Kawashiro kawaii.
I got distracted when I started thinking more and more about the idea of people doing tier lists like in museums and going to rearrange pictures. And
I was actually thinking that if we as Yase went up to like the Museum of Modern Art in New York and started doing that, people would think we're actually just like doing a display at MoMA.
Yeah, modern art, man. But
like,
anyway,
this is a performance art.
What I was wondering was what shitty museum would Justin Wong's tier list be in? Because his tier lists are fucking trash.
I don't want to talk
Museum
about
of
Justin
Bad
gets
Wong.
his opinions from.
It'd be the Museum of Bad Art.
There you go.
So y'all are thinking about art museums. My brain went to natural history. And I'm thinking about going to the Smithsonian and just like, there's a whole section here on rocks. This rock section is bullshit. D tier. Dinosaurs, S. Bugs are like A+.
I can imagine like just more going to the museum, just hearing in the distance, y'all want to rearrange some mummies?
Y'all want to touch some dead things?
Let's move some
Yo,
fucking
yo.
mummies around.
King Tut was a D tier. All right,
Yeah,
total scrub.
yeah.
Total scrub.
But-
If he
but
was
he had
higher
the
tier, he'd
curse,
still
though.
be alive.
Where do we put the black goop found inside of a mummy tomb or whatever the fuck it was that was going wild? What was that mummy juice? Hold on, I need to Google mummy juice real quick.
What?
The forbidden
Oh,
mummy
I
juice.
know
Oh, I
what you're
remember
talking
this.
about.
Yeah.
Where they broke open a tomb and they opened up a sarcophagus and there was just like black goop inside of it.
Yeah.
And somebody like what was it? It was like the forbidden licorice or something.
People were calling it mummy juice. It was very gross.
It's disgusting.
It's really
Like
gross.
I
I'm
was
looking at
thinking
a
like,
picture
oh,
right
what if
now.
we tried to apply the same criteria for views that some people take to video game criticism to natural history, and like obviously the part of the museum where they just have rocks is the worst. And y'all are just like, we're gonna drink that mummy juice.
I like rocks.
Oh yeah, it was just a fucking like black nondescript stone like sarcophagus. It was black granite.
Yeah,
But
just like put it
yeah.
back. Just put it back.
That's
That's obviously bad.
This is how we got coronavirus. This is actually a plague. This is the mummy tried to warn us.
Oh God.
I need to stop looking at pictures of mummy juice.
Why are you doing this?
Can you imagine a Capri Sun filled with mummy juice?
Why are you like
Oh
this?
God.
I don't know. I got
So
quarantine
you know
brain.
another really short game, the original Fallout.
Yeah.
I beat that game in like 15 hours this week.
Damn.
I don't know why I never beat it before. Like, I played 2 a lot, and that game's like really long and has a ton of stuff. And I just never was motivated to like grind through it. I was like, God, like I don't want to put that much time into this. But since I can't leave my house, I decided to do it. And I was like, wow, that was short.
15 hours feels like a real good spot for an RPG.
Yeah.
It was not bad.
Like especially for an older one.
That's more of a feature than a bug to me.
Yeah.
We mentioned earlier about like, you know, how much time you want to put into it, and like I can't put 100 hours into a video game, man. I just
Yeah.
want to like sit down for like for me, I find like if I hit about like the 20 or 30 hour mark in most games, I'm like, wow, this could end like any time now.
That's one game that it's a kind of a bummer as I've gotten older is also that there are games where there are longer experiences that I want to get into, and I just really can't. And like the
Super
big
sad.
one for me is Final Fantasy 14. Like a lot of my friends are into it. They've been playing it for years, and the story is good. Like the story, the writing, the music, I love all of it. But there's also I want to catch up to where my friends are. So it's sort of there's already this barrier of time, and I'm trying to minimize my time to get to the end game to be able to play with my friends. But then I'm missing out on the other stuff that I would enjoy, and eventually, like I periodically will resub and I'll play for a while. But it's just like it's a hard give and take in that kind of situation, and it's
Yeah.
just one of those bits where I appreciate that tight experience. But like a game like MMOs or like Final Fantasy 14 or like MMO genre games, it's rough. Monster Hunter as well, I think, falls into that, where just like the amount of time you can invest into it is basically infinite. And
Lord,
in those
I want to
situations,
play
like
that, but
those
it
games
is-
can be rough.
Cool.
I was trying not to say anything, but God, Final Fantasy 14 is really fucking good. I love that game. Every once in a while, I think about resubbing to it because it's been like a couple of years now. But that tug of war, that back and forth of, I want to experience the content, but all of my friends are at the end game, and it's like I'm kind of going through this right now to play with them, and that I do not envy your position. I really don't.
Yeah, it sucks because like I resubbed around when Shadowbringers came out, and I had only really played through like a portion of Heaven's Ward, like the beginning portion of it. So I unlocked Dark Knight, then I got a level Dark Knight, and then I'm a big edgy cat girl like real life, and going through and leveling stuff. But I'm seeing my Twitter and all my friends like, oh, we're doing all this cool stuff, and like the story's gonna get really great for you in a while. And I'm just like, I kind of want to do that stuff.
That's the worst thing to say to an MMO. Don't worry, in a while it really gets good. It's like when people were talking about Final Fantasy 13. Don't worry. After about the first 20 or 30 hours, the game really opens up. Yeah.
And I was still enjoying playing it, but like that was a tough moment to sit there where it's like, all right, we're talking about length as, a dynamic of review or a way of trying to impose some kind of value assessment. But there's also points where it's like length can be a barrier. And it's where it's like that game is really long and it's like, man, I really want to play that, but dang, I cannot find the time for that. Meanwhile, I'm going to spend a gajillion hours playing fighting games because, I can pick that up for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, for 5 hours. Whereas an MMO, I feel like, all right, I got to do my dailies. I got to commit to this stuff. I got to do these dungeons. And it's like when I'm watching, I'll tell myself, or I'll be sitting down with my partner and we'll be watching, like, we don't have time for a movie, but because then we have to sit down and block off like an hour and a half or 2 hours.
Yeah.
But we definitely will spend that same amount of time watching a show because we can always find another 20 minutes to watch something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like a weird way that length factors into value judgments there as well.
And I mean, the thing is, with shows, you can always just either, you can say, you know what, after this 20 minutes, I'm good to either watch something else that's 20 minutes, or movies are a commitment, man. I hate them. I don't hate them. That's not what I'm going for. I hate the idea of, time to just sit down for an hour and a half to 2 hours, and I might not like this.
Yeah,
Lemo's just sitting here like, fuck movies.
A lot more time into stuff that I can play for a short period. Like, I like racing games a lot. But, like, I often don't even do the races. I just like doing speed laps. So, like, I'll sit here and be like, oh, man, that game's like 30 hours. I don't know if I can do it. But then I bought Gran Turismo Sport, and I'm like, yeah, just let me do one more lap. I bet I can cut like half a second off that lap time. Then, like, 6 hours later, I'm like 200 laps deep.
As happens.
I can absolutely see that.
I mean, that happened to me with Hunter x Hunter, where in like the past 3 weeks, I think it's been, like, I basically finished 150 episodes of it.
Oh my god!
Good lord!
Look, quarantine brain. Look, quarantine brain is intense, but it's I'm sitting there like, and for the first couple arcs, you really can like leave it on in the background, and just kind of peep up and just be like, all right, like this is what's going on in this scene, and then I go write some emails and then I peep up like, okay, this is what's happening here. But then, you get more invested in it later on. But still, like,
time to get through that one. I
watched a lot of that show.
God, no. To bring it back for a second, actually, because I think the big thing in trying to find that balance between length and everything else is, does the game that I play respect my time as a player? Am I being given kind of things that make sense? Am I being rewarded for my investments, or just through a more interesting and rewarding gameplay loop? And for a long time, I don't play it anymore, but I think all of you know I was super big into Destiny for a very long time, to where I was running multiple raids on multiple characters each week to try and get out the best gear, grinding for different gear to get specific perks on them for what considered to be like the best role you could get, and just like I had to get out of it because ultimately I felt like the game wasn't respecting my time anymore. It kept asking me to put in more and more time and repeat the same activities on a higher level, but I'm not getting. The gameplay isn't getting any more rewarding. The drops aren't getting any more rewarding. In fact, it was getting less rewarding for both of those things. But God, I see an event about Destiny more than anything else at that point. Let's go back to anime. I finished Beastars finally.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Is Legoshi best boy?
Legoshi is best boy. And then do you know what I did after I finished watching Beastars?
Did you start reading Beastars?
I started reading Beastars. So the first season of the anime goes to about volume like 6.5 maybe of the manga.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on volume 11 right now.
Oh, you're going.
I'm gone. Let me tell you.
So, I don't think you're gone until you have a persona. Speaking of which, what's your persona?
I do not have a persona. We'll talk about this on the Patreon exclusive podcast.
Okay, we'll get into it because I have feelings about this.
You gotta spend money to get this shit out of me.
I mean, how much? What's your MSRP? How much are you willing to spend to find out what Limo's persona is?
Don't have one. Which is exactly what someone would say. Oh, fuck. God damn it. But no,
if Limo was
God,
digging
I've
his
fallen
own
off
hole
these
here, I would guess that he's some kind of guinea pig or honey badger.
Wow. The first one was insulting.
Actually,
No one, first of all, how dare you call me a guinea pig, a fat Italian, while I am, yes, a fat Italian.
I mean, to be fair, the honey badger is about as cool as it gets. So,
Honey
like,
badgers go
it
hard.
evens out.
Honey
They do
badgers go
pretty
too hard. Let's be real honest here. There's that
Looking
show
like-
where it's like, oh, it's like these things are poisonous to the honey badgers, but they don't care. They kill and eat them anyway, and then they just nap off the poison. Which I ate too much Burger King before we recorded today, and now I too feel like I want to nap off the poison that I've ingested. So take a good 3-hour nap and just get that shit out of me.
Let's put a pin in that one. I think Veliz might be onto something. But anyway, Beastars.
Beastars.
I want to know
yes.
I want to know what your thoughts are, and
Oh, it's so fucking good.
be as spoily as I guess you want to be.
Well, I don't mean.
but,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know if Velius and Snooze have watched it or want to watch it, so I don't want to get into spoiler territory for them.
All right, well then that's how much you want to be.
But it's very good. There's a lot more nuance than I think I originally expected to be happening. I fucking love the characters. At some times I hate them, but I'm supposed to be hating them. I really liked the ending of season 1 in regards to where Legoshi and Haru ended up, because it wasn't clean. It was very complicated, which is I wasn't expecting from most animes. And I don't know, just something about the mood while they're kind of looking over the town. I just really fucking dug that.
It's a good series.
It's really good.
I agree as well. I know that I think even I'm assuming you watch that on Netflix. It ends with like season 2 on the way.
Yep.
It's like cool, but I think it could have done without that personally, because it does leave in a spot where it's like, all right, like, you know, it's not bad. Like they've kind of have some level of understanding, but
they could have, as an anime, just even left it right there, and that actually would have been a very good spot to leave it if they had to. Like if they didn't get renewed for a second season, like that would have been actually a phenomenal spot to just drop it. Which I don't want to say anything else. The only spoiler thing I will say, fuck Juno. Juno's the goddamn worst. I hate her.
Oh, I actually love Juno.
I fucking hate her.
Juno, I think, was actually my favorite character.
Really?
I think
After
we're
the
gonna have
shit she pulls the fucking festival?
Okay, I fucking respect a queen that takes what is hers.
No, it's not hers though. It's not hers to take.
Okay, but you
can't take what isn't given.
She knows what she wants, and she's going to like do what she does to get it. And yeah, like I respected Juno a lot for that. Actually,
she sucks shit. She's a home wrecker.
I mean, she is, but like she also knows that she is, and is basically just like, yeah, this is what I'm doing.
Hold on. So wrecking homes is bad, correct? But
okay, Legoshi and Haru were not together.
Yeah,
they were not
homes.
together.
We're having a Yase furry civil war over here.
Okay, it's gonna get bloody real quick. Okay, so Haru and Legoshi like are not together. It's like she likes Legoshi, Haru is like conflicted on it, and she's like, all right, well, I like this guy, and I'm gonna make my move. And I don't care if you're older than, like, if she, like Haru is a senior, right? And she's like, I don't care if you're older than me. Like, this is what I'm gonna do. And like she makes her play. And it, it works out as it does. But I respect her as a character for being willing to do that and to actually like say, hey, I'm going to take the initiative and I'm going to be the antagonist in this in the romantic arc here.
Fair. But
look,
I think
you're valid.
to an extent, I think the show does want some of the viewers to dislike her. I mean, they're absolutely painting her as something of a villain, even though she really isn't.
I never took her as a villain. I took her as like, all right, she's got a crush on Legoshi, and she's not. Yeah, she's an antagonist. Like, she's a romantic antagonist. She's like, she's the other woman of like, hey, I'm also interested in this guy, and I'm gonna not be subtle about that. And like, all right, go off, queen.
Have you read any of the manga past where the first season ends?
I have not.
Okay.
But I read a Wikipedia article, so I know what you're probably gonna say.
Okay.
I was spoiled on it.
You might even be thinking of a different thing than I'm thinking of.
We know, but or am I thinking of the thing that you're thinking that I'm thinking?
Stop bringing mind games into this. I don't have a brain. You can't beat me.
Damn, head empty.
I have cleared my head of all thought. I am both the stupidest and smartest man alive.
Leo Whitefang in real life.
Oof.
I was going to insert an E Honda joke in there.
Hey,
or E Honda. You actually are definitely like, that is your character archetype. Head empty, no think.
No think. Hit thing. Hit thing.
But,
eat food.
The thing, again, staying out of spoilies, that I really liked about Beastars, especially in like the way that the world works out, is that, I mean, I think the obvious comparison or touchstone for me was Zootopia. And while watching Zootopia, I was wondering like, oh yeah, but like, what about this?
Yeah.
Like, how does the world adjust around this? And like, when they go to the market, for example, in Beastars, I was like, it's a series that kind of takes that sort of through line, but really follows it to its conclusion of like, okay, well, how does the society hold itself together? And it's like, oh yeah, there's like some shit going on.
I like that the answer to that question is that it's not. Things are not holding together.
Yeah,
very
it's basically
well at all.
it's not. It's like neoliberalism has failed the animals.
Yeah, but and that's kind of what I love so much about Beastars is that there's so much of, after watching Zootopia, of like, yeah, but what about this kind of shit? What about that? It's like, oh yeah, no, they thought about this in Beastars. They thought about how their society is structured and like the interspecies like relations and how things like natural predatory instincts play into a modern day society. And it's done so well, and it's such an interesting world to read about or to watch or just even think about. Like, I absolutely love it. I'm so fucking on board for the ride right now. I might end up reading some more of the manga after we're done recording.
I might start reading it after I finish Hunter x Hunter, which I only have like 10 episodes left or whatever.
There you go.
But yeah, it's a lot of my friends have been on this for a while, and I was sort of like, all right, like I'll wait for it to come on Netflix. And then once I watched it, I basically binged it because it's only like 13 episodes. And it's a pretty short first season. It's like a sizable like weekend watch. And at the end of it, I was sitting there like, yeah, like exact kind of the same point where it's like the way I'm more interested in the world than the character relationships.
Yeah.
But I also am increasingly getting pretty invested in the character relationships and how they're connected to stuff like predatory instinct, and like Legoshi has his own through line of, oh crap, like is this just like a weird like, basically his life coach tells him like, is this a weird psychosexual thing for me, or like
yeah,
or you do and it's like, oh, it's so good.
Yeah,
Legoshi's just the best boy. That's like that's it. He's such a good boy. He deserves the world.
God, he really does. He's such a fucking idiot, though. I love him, but sometimes he unwittingly like kind of not leads Juno. I guess strings Juno along a little bit in some of the stuff I've been reading. Like completely, like he didn't realize he was doing it, but he totally was. And it's just like, Legoshi, you fucking dumbass.
Who's amongst us? I mean,
yeah.
He's definitely he's a weird character.
I love him,
in that he's got a big heart, but he's like, and in the world as a gray wolf, other characters look at him like, you're a gray wolf. That means you're strong and you're powerful, and they have expectations for him. But
there's a really good side story that happens about Legoshi's self-identity versus another character's self-identity, but they are a domesticated bred dog. How it's like, oh yeah, no, it's like I've been bred specifically for these character traits, and does that make me more or less of a dog than someone like Legoshi, who is like essentially like a purebred wolf, so to speak? How does that change my place in the world and how I'm viewed as in society? And it's like, how the fuck would you have ever seen that kind of idea coming? But like, now that you think about it, it's like, fuck, that's actually really interesting.
Yeah, now that you said that, like
Right?
my brain is no longer empty. I now have think, because that is good.
Yeah, it's some good shit.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's like, I know, because there's like the Labrador boy
Mm-hmm.
and everything, but like you kind of think about it like, oh wait, Labradors are like a breeding project of domesticating wolves. How do they fit into this world? Like, they didn't pop out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that kind of clicks there of like, hey, I've been like selected for these specific traits. Like, do I have agency here in my choices in this sort of modern sort of Zootopia-esque world, or how much of that is sort of ordained from birth versus social pressure? It's good.
It's good. We need to stop gushing about Beastars, because we will just end up going on forever at this point. But
we're furries now.
Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
Mom. Sorry, Dad.
I'm not sorry. I mean, I have worse things to apologize for.
Oh my god, that image you posted.
I know.
Yeah.
Here lies Lugosi. He never scored.
Oh, that's so good. I think this about wraps it up for this week. We're looking at almost an hour. I think it's a good time to cut this short. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. This has been YASEcast episode 4. I am Lamo. Thank you to Morgan, Velius, and Snooze for all joining me on this week. Remember to keep it wavy. Buy some of our merch. Yase.world. I don't know.
Add our RSS feed.
Yeah, we should probably find a good spot to actually like put that. I think it's actually in a pinned tweet on the Yase Twitter account. You can catch all the info there.
Yeah.
To any of you have stuff that you want to plug? Where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter at fog_e. My Twitch is the same. I've been streaming mostly Grand Blue Versus, but trying to get more into chill vibe stuff. And now that I have all this cool audio equipment, I just had the thought that I could also connect my guitar to my computer, and I might start streaming as sort of a external pressure to give myself some motivation to keep practicing. So maybe that'll happen in the future. Right
on. Velius, where can the people find you?
The people can find me at Twitter at _Velius, and on Twitch at VeliusFGC. And I want more people to come yell at me about movies and shit while I play Animal Crossing.
Hell yeah.
That sounds stressful.
I mean, it's
stressful and not stressful, so it balances out.
It's like the Animal Crossing is just background noise so that I can be doing something that isn't going to get like a copyright strike hit on my channel. So,
hey. Snooze, where can people find you at?
My Twitter account name is snooze2178. I think that's right.
I was going to say you did not sound super sure when you said that, but we'll find out next week. We might have a correction next week.
I believe that's not right. It's 2718. This is a very useful sign off. Good luck with that.
Cool.
And you can find me on Twitter at Lamo_SD. You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Lamo. And you can also find me, if you're ever feeling alone, you can look up towards the moon and knowing that I'm looking at the same moon as you. With that, again, thank you so much for listening in, and we will see you all next week.